electric mountain bikes, electric cruiser bikes, electric motorcycles. So many new products are getting introduced every month, and a lot of people are getting into it. But they're coming across one significant problem, which is transporting them to your destination. Let it be the trailhead, the campsite, or another city. A lot of the bike racks today are not made for the weight of these things, often 60 pounds to 130 pounds. A lot of the racks now have a limit of 60 pounds, and the rougher the road, the faster you're going on a freeway divider, the more unsettling it is to be on a traditional mountain bike rack. So what One-Up USA has introduced is the Xtreme Duty rack, made specifically for this issue. Has a capacity of 150 pounds on the first tray, and I think 120 pounds on the second tray, and then you can even expand it. It has a lot of options. What we're going to do in this video is I'm going to give you the overview of how it works, give you the pros and cons of this design, and really show you some running footage, go over some speed bumps with some heavy electric bikes, electric moto, and see if this thing holds up, and hopefully it will allow you to make a better decision for yourself. They're easy on the eyes, but they're not easy on the wallet. They're big investments, so you have to make sure it's right for you. Okay, One-Up USA, one of the most trusted brands in bike racks because they have a clean design wheel hold rack. They don't touch the frame of your bike and they just do the tires. Very clean design, very modular, and they've adopted a bit of that here, but they've learned quite a few lessons. What they wanted is a heavy duty rack, so 150 pounds weight limit here, 120 here, that's a lot, and you can expand it, another 75 pounds here, a lot of accessories on their ecosystem. And what they've done is, okay, sturdy for sure, longer wheelbase and more space between the rails. A very common problem is the bikes hit each other or the pedals hit the other frame and just messes it up. So they've avoided that, fat bikes especially, and they said, okay, we'll get rid of the wobble. The wobble is the enemy for a heavy bike because the wobble will oscillate. If the timing is right, that thing will just go like this. All right, so let me show you how it works. I'm gonna fold it down, and instead of relying on quick releases, they're relying on bolts now, just to make sure there's no wobble. So to drop it, you have a quick release here, but you have to loosen these bolts, huge bolts that it's gonna rest on, kind of look like this. And you have your quick release here. After you loosen the bolts, get it past the midpoint, and now you can drop it. And then boom, now you are resting on the bolts, and really you gotta take your tool out. They supply you a tool and you gotta tighten these things. So I'm just gonna do one side for now, and let me show you the effect. It is not moving. Any rack has play when when there's a quick release because there's a notch, and that tolerance so you can quick release it has to have some space. So in this rack, you can tighten those bolts as much as you want and see there's no movement at all. And that's one of the keys to giving it its strength. All right, so here it is. It's a classic One-Up, but everything's been redesigned. Everything is beefier, bigger trays to take the load, and these arms are so beefy. They're double railed. So there's four arms here. So less of this lateral movement. So everything is just tighter. Just like your One-Up rack, put your bike there and then just put it down and you're good to go. And then the button is very cool. And then one of the new features is it goes down all the way. Look at that, all the way. One of the issues with these bikes are so heavy, 100 pounds, how are you gonna lift it? Ideally, you have two people, one on each wheel to get it over. But if you're solo, they're gonna give you a solution for that too. So you can just roll it up right here, either with a ramp or without a ramp. And then another thing that's a real concern as bikes get heavy, over 75 pounds. The weakness of wheel hold racks is that the front wheel can turn. So if the road is very rough, that thing will wobble like this. It'll cause the bike to move back and forth. And so what they addressed, some companies give you a little chock right here, but I mean, One Up went above and beyond the chock design. They said, okay, we're gonna give you a real chock. So this has a locking chock and a quick release, and then boom. Why is it removable? You could roll the bike in easier and this doesn't get in the way. And also, something very innovative is it has multiple positions. You can really cinch this against the bike to make sure it's tight. It slides in. I think a lot of engineering went into this specific part. And then your button. So you can really cinch it down against the wheel. And you have a standard chock or a chock for fat bikes to really hug that tire. Not only are you pressing it against it, but you're putting the tire in between, so you don't have to tighten it so much. So you see, even the chock fits in with the rails. And as you know, with One Up, you can adopt very different wheel sizes by moving this bar, and this bar is so beefy. Okay, so what about options? Let's say you have 3 bikes, you have a solution for that too. You could use your old Super Duty rack, and it will work. They say up to 75 pounds. But really, if you don't have a lot of e-bikes, I would put 2, because the upper limit of this whole system is 345 pounds. And another option you might have is a ramp. The ramp is reasonably priced, 122 or 160 for the long one. I have the long one. It has a pin here. You can extend it. How this works is you put it upside down and you use different bolts. They're a little longer with a spacer, and you just boom and slide and you're good to go. And really cool, you can go on either side of the rack. It has these hooks and you just rest them and you're in. Very secure. Ideally, this rail would be under it, so it's not in the way. But even if it's on top of it, it's not the end of the world, because if you are dismounting the bike, you can just roll that thing over. Okay, pros and cons. So I think most of what I said so far is a pro. Something that's specifically designed for this purpose is a great thing. And you know, the construction is really good. Now, when you get to the cons, the price is significant. It's, I believe, $850 for the first rail with the receiver, and then with a hitch mount, and then $650 for the second rail. So this right here, I believe, is $1450. But if you're, you and your buddy or husband, wife, they want to travel the country, you need to be secure. You need to know that you're going to be good. These chocks are about $110 each, which is a very fair price for a lot of construction engineering on this. Now, going into the con side, the real big one that you need to decide is the tilting mechanism. It's not easy to do. Like I said, you always need your wrench if you're going to tilt it. So, it'll be better if you just take the whole thing off almost. But if you need to tilt it, you have to always do this, both sides. So also, when you're tilting it, you have to unweight it so you can turn that bolt. So the fact that you have to work with bolts for tilting, that's a big one. So we'll see if you can live with that. And this quick release here, it's okay, but it's a little tough to actuate. Another weakness might be that when it's upright, it is not relying on the bolts, the really secure bolts. It's just relying on this pin with a smaller shaft. So you get this movement, and I don't know how durable it's going to be if it's up and you're doing a lot of rough road, hundreds of miles. So it's just a lot of pressure on this one bolt right here. A couple other weaknesses. The ramp, it's really good, but when it's on, it doesn't look good. The look that you have, the streamlined look of a One Up, just goes away with that. Also, when you add a third rack, it doesn't look right. It just looks like the spacing is off, the symmetry is off, and it's like a big rack and a small rack. But I wish they could let you do a fourth rack as well, because this is fully capable, but they didn't want to declare it. So there you go. Enjoy the running video. This is a I'm sure the first of many that are specific to e-bikes and electric motorcycles to address this growing need. Thanks a ton. And finally, some test driving. Right there, the moment of truth always with a rack is when you back off of your driveway. You always take a look and see how badly they're wobbling, right? And this one was pretty darn good. So 2 bikes, 100 pounds each, and both of them have wheel chocks. One has a fat bike wheel chock, and it really helps on the back and forth movement and the twisting of the front wheel. Right there, as you accelerate, you can see its movements, bumps, U-turns, and hard braking. You could really see how the thing behaves. And here, we're gonna enter a driveway to our little lot. And right there, driveways are tough because they're usually diagonal. Puts a lot of torsional force on it. And right here is a speed bump, I believe. And I'm not gonna slow down too much. Imagine that, 200 pounds ramming through a speed bump on a truck too, so not very soft suspension, so pretty darn good. And there it is on another view. So this is really the strength of this rack at the end of the day, not the features but the stability. Is it gonna keep your 100-pound, 50 to 150 pound 2 bikes safe? And so far it's been good. And mind you, we're using e-motos, electric motorcycles, Surrons, what do you call that, Super 73s, just to demonstrate the upper limit. We've taken this with a couple e-bikes to Tahoe, no problems whatsoever. We didn't even use the wheel chocks, but now that I see the effect of the wheel chocks, I'm gonna be using them from here on. Thanks a ton.